So what's going on now? Well, I'm going to tell you. That's why I put my phone on video and turned it on. All right? So get the car key out of your ear and listen up. The shyster here, I found out the other day, she had one bad paw. Up here on the front where the dualies are, I had a flat. And I actually didn't know it until I lifted up that whole stack of pipe over there. And she dipped down on this side pretty bad, and that's when I realized that I had a flat here. So today I had to take that tire to the tire shop to get a tube put in it. So I decided to throw it in the back of the old Blazer. So I put it in the back of the old Blazer, and I headed to Elkins to take it to the tire shop. And one of the things I wanted to do is I was actually wanting to check the gas mileage on the Blazer and see what kind of mile per gallon it was getting. So I stopped up at the fuel stop and I went to put gas in the Blazer. And when I was putting gas in the Blazer, a portion of that gasoline was running out on the ground out there. And I thought that's not good. It's not supposed to do that, right? So I was looking in there in the filler neck. There's a portion of that filler neck that's steel, and it rotted completely through. It rusted through. So I decided when I got back to the shop I was going to have to take a look at that. So I pulled the wheel off and I looked in here. And what I did was I cleaned up the area that had rusted through, and I applied the exactly measured perfect amount of RTV silicone. So that's probably not fixed, but that's what I did. And the thing I realized when I was doing that, there's a canister here that was about to fall off because the bracket holding this this charcoal canister, months ago, it was the charcoal vent. I think it's a charcoal vent canister for the gas tank. That thing was about to fall off for a few months ago, and at that point I had applied this this high-speed aluminum fence wire, and that kept that canister from falling off there where the bracket had rusted. But I noticed that this repair was failing. It was probably because I didn't have the wires twisted up pretty enough, you know. I don't know. So I upgraded to some leftover scrap aluminum bracketry, some electrical tape just to hold it while I got everything screwed in place. And as you can see, I got the self-tapping screws in there. And so I dealt with that. Now, while I was working on all this, I had the tire off while I was working on that. And that was just to give me better access in there. So when I had the tire off, I happened to look at the brakes. And at that point, I realized that I probably wasn't stopping really good on these rivets that were, they're not supposed to be rivets. They're supposed to be actually a brake pad on this, but there wasn't. Okay, so the thing was, this Blazer, as long as we've had it, and we've had it since it was brand new, and it's got, I don't know, 150, 160,000 on it now. The way the rear brakes are, all the brakes do it, but especially these rear disc brakes. On the brake pads, on the side that has the piston, the side of the caliper where the piston comes from, that brake pad wears twice as fast as the other. And it's so much significant that, like, a couple times I've bought brake pads for this thing and only replaced the pad that was wore out and left the old pad on the other side opposite the piston because it just looked that good. And so when I saw that the brake pads on this side looked like this, I went to see what brakes I had, and I found one good brake shoe or one good brake pad for the Blazer. So I put it on the piston side of this caliper. And then I figured I'd better take a look-see at these brakes because this one looked like this. So I looked at this side, pulled the wheel off, jacked her up, pulled the wheel off. I looked at this side, and neither one of them was this bad. But one of them, the one against the piston, wore significantly more, obviously, as I say they always do. And I rotated them. So I've got the thicker one on this side is against the piston. So that's the situation with the rear brakes. And while I was looking for the brake that I needed to replace on this thing, I actually found that I had a set of brand new front brakes for this Blazer. So I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and put them on there. So I went ahead and put brand new front brakes on both sides. And while I was doing that, I busted a brake hose on this side. So I had to run to the parts store and get one of them. But I've got all the brake stuff back together now. So that's good. So what's the tip on this video? What am I going to show you? Well, what I want to talk about is torquing lug nuts. These lug nuts, the way that, you know, just about any tire shop's going to tell you need to torque the lug nuts. And it's become more important nowadays because so many of these vehicles have aluminum wheels. And it's especially important with the aluminum wheels that your lug nuts are torqued. And the trick that keeps you from having problems is that you don't get them too tight, that you don't get one lug nut tighter than the others, and that you get them tight enough. Now, these tire shops, and the one down the road is especially adamant about doing it. They'll always tell you, and the manufacturers will tell you, and just about everybody will tell you, that you should torque your lug nuts and then drive your vehicle for so many miles, 25 miles, whatever they say, and then torque them again. Now, I'm not against that, but I'm going to tell you I don't believe it's necessary. What I believe that you can do is you need your wheels and your lug nuts cool, meaning you haven't been driving the vehicle. They're not hot. They're just, you know, same temperature as everything else. They haven't been warmed up by braking or driving or any of that. You don't ever want to tighten your lug nuts just after you've been driving. You'll probably break the studs off trying to get them torqued if you do that, because when they're hot, they don't behave correctly. You want them just ambient temperature when you do this. Now, the way that I recommend that you do this is to torque your lug nuts in the pattern that you're supposed to the torque that the manufacturer says that your lug nuts need to be torqued. But pay attention as you go around the pattern to whether or not they move. In the beginning, they should move. And when I say move, they'll tighten some. Now, here's the trick. This is what's going to make it so that in my experience, this is going to make it so you don't need to worry about doing a retorque and you're not going to have problems with them backing off. The trick is this. Go around that pattern 2 or 3 times after you have not had one tighten. And if you have one tighten as you're going around the pattern, go around again 2 or 3 times. Now, I'm going to tell you what I mean by this, just so it's very clear. If at any point you're going around that pattern, I don't care if the thing clicks every time or not. If at any point you're going around that pattern and one of those lug nuts tightens a little bit, then that excludes all of the other clicks or whatever that your torque wrench has done, because now you've moved the wheel. You've moved the wheel or stretched a stud or something's happened that's caused it so that you need to go all the way around that pattern 2 or 3 more times. Let's see what it looks like. I got my torque wrench set at 100 foot-pounds. I usually do the Blazer wheels at 100 foot-pounds. That one clicked. That one clicked. There we go. Now a lot of people, including tire shops, are going to stop right there. They just click them all and they're good. Let's do it again. Starting with exactly the same one I started with last time. That one didn't move. That one moved just a little bit. That one moved a little bit. That one didn't move at all. That one didn't move either. So I had one lug nut that moved just a little bit. So I'm going to go around again. Let's see if any of them move. That one moved a little bit. The one that moved that time is right here. The one that moved last time I think was there. Not sure. But we had one move again. So we're starting over again. That's what's going to get them tightened. If one of those moves, then something's changed. And as far as I'm concerned, these wheels aren't correctly torqued unless you've went around there at least twice and they didn't move. They shouldn't tighten when you're done. That one moved a little bit. See, I'm starting over because that one moved a little bit. I wanted to go around 3 times and not have any of them move. If I go around here 3 times and none of them move, I'm done. But we're starting over. First time going around. Now I'm going to do one more time. Yeah, I won't retorque those now because I know they're good. That's how I do it, and I haven't had any trouble. I do my truck, my F250, I think it's 140. I have to look that up. I think it torques to 140. I do that way, I have no trouble. I don't have to retorque them. My old Ford, I think, is 160. The old dually, it's got steel wheels on it, so it's not as critical. You could probably, with steel wheels, you could probably slam them in with an impact gun. I torque them anyway, but the steel wheels, it's not as critical. With these alloys, it needs to be done, it needs to be right. And you either need to do it correctly one time or do what everybody tells you to do and keep rechecking them. I don't need to recheck mine. I don't ever see any problems when I do it this way, and that's why I wanted to say so, because that's the thing that's taking care of it for me. Y'all have a good one.